So, good afternoon. My name is Sabo Sudangi. Today is 13th November 2022. I'll be talking to you about leadership. I call this leadership series lectures. And to give you an idea of who I am, I will tell you that I'm a chemical engineer. I started work in 1974 at ABU as assistant lecturer. Shortly after that, I was invited by FSFC, Federal Superphosphate Fertilizer Company, for an interview, and after the interview I was employed there and I transferred my service there. So that was in 1974. I started work at ABU in September 1974, and I started work in ABU in August 1974, and I moved to fertilizer company in October 1974. I was there for about 10 years, 1985, when I transferred to Ajakuta Steel Company, and I worked in Ajakuta Steel Company up to December 1989. From there, the ministry transferred me to National Iron Ore Mining Company in December 1989. I stayed there for about 2 years, I think, up to about 2 years. In March 1991, I moved to Gidonia Katsina as Director General, and I worked there until 1997 when I moved back to National Iron Ore Mining Company. And then I worked there from that time up to, I think, May 1999, when I was appointed by the minister then, 1999, as Director of Nigeria's National Steel Raw Materials Exploration Agency. And I worked there for about 2 years. In 2000, I was transferred back to Ajakuta Steel Company in December 2000. After about 4 years, I decided to retire in 2004. I'm giving you my background just to show you that I have worked for about 30 years of my life. 20 years of that 30 years, I was in top management of all these organizations. So I have a background for management and leadership, and it is during these periods that I realized that there are many problems with leadership in Nigeria, and that's why I became interested, especially now that we are going to talk about elections. It's very important for us to know what leadership is all about, so that we choose the best leaders. So I will be using my experience to show you the mistakes that were made in our economy, and that's why we're in a big mess. And then, unless we correct those mistakes, we're going to continue to have those, to live in a terrible shape in the country. So now, of course, what is leadership? Maybe the best way to understand leadership is when you look at it and compare it with the brain. As far as I can tell, I can see, the brain is to the human being what leadership is to society. If you have a man who has problem with his brains, what kind of man do you have? he will not amount to anything. The same thing with society. If the leadership of any society is bad, there is no way that society can progress or develop. Now, one definition of leadership by Oxford Dictionary is the act of leading a group of people or an organization. That is the Oxford Dictionary definition. But Peter Drucker, a well-known management guru, says that management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things. This is very interesting because doing things right means he's talking about keeping to rules, keeping to organizational policies and processes and procedures, whereas leadership is, just do things right. So if you do the right things, because what is important is to do the right thing, not necessarily doing things right. In fact, doing things right sounds like bureaucracy. Now, what are the qualities of leaders, good leaders? A good leader should be someone who listens. In fact, he should be listening more than talking. So when you have a leader talking, it means he's not leading. Because it is only when he listens that he will know what the problems are. In fact, I think one of the former presidents of U.S., Ronald Reagan, described his position of president as a listening position, because he knows that if he doesn't listen, he will always be wrong. Another quality of a good leader is perseverance. Of course, perseverance means keep doing the thing you want to do, but that's only if you are right. So if you are right, as a leader, you should persevere to achieve the results you want. The third quality is honesty. Of course, honesty, as they say, is the best policy. If you are not honest, you will not be a good leader. Nobody will trust you. Nobody will even vote for you if they know you are not honest. Then the fourth one is selflessness. Unfortunately, that is something we are lacking in our leaders. There are very few selfless leaders. Most of them are just working for themselves or for their friends or for their family. The fifth one is decisiveness. You should not, when you know you have to take a decision, you should take a decision. You shouldn't wait for any reason, because it's better to make a bad mistake and correct it than to not to make mistake at all. The sixth one is trust. You should be trustworthy. If you are not trustworthy, you cannot be a good leader. And you should also trust your subordinates, once you know they are doing the right thing. And the seventh one is integrity. To me, this is the most important, because any leader that has no integrity is not a leader. He's a destroyer. Of course, the eighth one is intelligence. Intelligence, if a leader is not intelligent, of course, it's like a human being with a bad brain. Abraham Lincoln, another former president of the U.S., said that anytime he wanted to make an appointment, he would make sure that the candidate has three things. One is intelligence. Two is energy. That means he can move around and do the job without wasting time. And the third one is integrity. And he said, if the candidate does not have integrity, the other two qualities are of no use. In fact, an intelligent person who has no integrity is very dangerous to the system. And that's what we have today. I don't know the last time in this country when appointments were being made, whether integrity was ever considered. And that's why we have so many bad leaders all over the place. Again, let's look at what kind of the types of leadership we have. I think the basic, most smallest unit of any system where a leader is needed is the family. Even at family level, you have to have a leader. Any family where there is no leader, that family is doomed. The next level is the community. It may be an area of a town or village. The next level is ward, and that's the smallest of the political units where elections are conducted. Then you have the city, you have the state, and then the federal. These are the several levels of leadership. Another way to look at leadership is you have religious leadership, you have civic leadership, that is the government. Then you have military and other forces, and you have NGOs. NGOs are necessary. In fact, I think it's becoming popular in Nigeria even, but I think this started in the US where they have hundreds of thousands of NGOs, because not everything can be done by government. So the NGOs step in where government is not doing much. Now, what kind of leadership do we have, or what kind of leadership do we want? I believe the kind of leadership we have now is a faulty one. The reason is because the way we select our leaders is faulty. Today, if you want to win an election, you have to have a lot of money, and the higher the post you want, the more money you have to have. That is wrong. Leadership should have nothing to do with money. Whether you have money or not, it's about good leadership qualities. Once you have those qualities, you should have the chance to lead. What I keep asking is, why is it that in any system, at any level, people are tested and interviewed before they're given a job, whether it's a messenger or a clerk or even a chief executive? You have to be tested and examined and then interviewed. But who determines who becomes president in this country, or who becomes governor, or who becomes senator? It's the money bags. So we have to change the system. We have to find a way to change it such that money does not play any role in determining who leads us. I have come across a system that they're using in the US. They call it Political Action Committee. This is like a body that will determine the suitability of a candidate or otherwise. If it's not suitable, they find money to campaign against that person. But if he's suitable, they find money to campaign for him, for that person. I think that is something that we should find a way of inculcating in Nigeria. I have tried 4 or 3 times to see if we can set up a political action committee in Kaduna. I tried in Katsina. Unfortunately, people don't understand the system. But I think until we understand it, because it's the best way to get grassroots politics established in Nigeria. And without grassroots politics, there is no way we can have good government. Thank you. I will try maybe later to talk about the experience I had, and from the experience to see what mistakes were made and how those mistakes can be corrected and solutions should be proffered, so that we make sense of what has been happening in Nigeria and where we are, in what situation we are now. Thank you very much.